Welcome back. I'm MTG Joe. We're here with some more historic content. So this is a deck that was featured by Merchant. So the main board's pretty much identical. I've liked it thus far. I changed up his sideboard. I felt like it was kind of thrown together a bit, and I just, based on a couple matchups, wanted to shore up some of those. But this is a Gruul Aggro deck that's leveraging off of the introduced card Burning Tree Emissary. So for those of you who didn't play an original Ravnica, or Ravnica, Return to Ravnica, not original, mid Ravnica, this little creature is basically a free creature, enters the battlefield, you add a green and red mana. So this allows us to have explosive draws where we can pump out a bunch of power on turn 2. In one game against the Mirror, they went turn 1 Llanowar Elves, turn 2 Emissary, Gruul Spellbreaker. On turn 2. It was quite disgusting, but overall pretty cool. So with the deck itself, what we're trying to do is ramp out early. We have 2 1-drops. We got Llanowar Elves, which is just a more consistent goose. Pelt Collector, which scales into the late game. Emissary, as I mentioned. Some Zhur-Taa Goblins to come out. It could evolve the Pelt Collector, but also a hasty threat could come down off of the Burning Tree. Once Upon a Time to help us find whatever key piece we're missing. Domri's Ambush works nice when you can go Burning Tree and removal, so you can put out a threat and a removal at the same turn. Spellbreaker with haste, so you're going to notice a theme with a lot of haste. Rekindling Phoenix from the old set. When it dies, comes as an egg, comes back with haste, so hard to kill threat unless they're playing Exile. 4 Questing Beast as just a top end, hard to deal with beater. And then Embercleave. So we're trying to spam the board, drop an Embercleave early. I've gotten quite a few turn 4 wins with the deck. It's quite powerful. Mana base wise, the most impactful improvement to Gruul's mana is a second duel that comes into play untapped for the deck. And then we're playing a couple Castle Embereths to push through the last points of damage. The sideboard is what I changed up quite a bit. So it's still Veil of Summers. I added in the Lava Coils. I was playing a lot of Kethis combos, so the Exile is relevant. Also in the Mirror. Cindervines versus Nexus could kind of lock them out from actually being able to combo out, as well as like heavy spell decks. Brontodon versus Nexus, or like enchantment-based decks. Played a couple Doom for Toldless. Ripjaw Raptor is great against aggro, just draws you a bunch of cards. I wanted a source of card advantage, so I find Vivien the best. She was pretty much a staple of all the green-based mid-range decks back in previous Standard. It can also deal with artifacts, enchantments, or creatures with flying, so relevant against like the Nexus matchups or other enchantment-based matchups. And then 2 Carnage T's. This is our top end, can't be countered. There is a distinction between this and Ceratops. Ceratops comes down early, it's a bit smaller. This having hexproof is against everything, not just blue, is also relevant. And I like the built-in trample without having to pay the more mana commitment. The only downside is it doesn't have haste. But that's pretty much the deck itself. I've been playing it in ranked, historic. We are Diamond 2, trying to recover after that catastrophic drop the other day, where I lost what seemed like 20 straight games. So it's been a fun deck. It goes quick, so we will play it in some ranked. So just in terms of content, I'll be doing a mix of historic and standard, probably back and forth between videos. Some people have requested like control and historic. I'll probably play some budget brews as well. So we once find a red source. Spellbreaker. We are on the draw. Let's keep. Worst case, I just once on 2. It's a free spell. Yeah, so we'll do that. If there's any decks you're interested in seeing, by all means do drop a comment on the YouTube video. This is a pretty new format, so if you do come across any sweet brews. Okay, so we got that. Let's see if we could get an elf on one. We don't. Against a goose deck, I probably want this on one. Or have a spell on 2. Questing Beast is decent, but if they have Oko, it's not as good. At least this gets counters on it. Marauding Raptor. some sort of teamer deck. Interesting use of cards because Marauding Raptor turns off Gildagoose. It's a very powerful interaction. Here I'm gonna take the damage. This is interesting because we can go bigger, but this takes him off of mana as well. We have to take another 4 damage. Probably still do that. Nah, I think let's just set up this turn. Next turn, if I drop the land, I can go probably double block Ripjaw here. They'll take out the Spellbreaker, and then I can take out the Marauding Raptor. Or I may just throw this in front. Yeah, second Ripjaw is tough. So we'll take the 4 here. Ideally would like to draw a second red source because then I could double Domri's ambush. Okay, so this is just Teamer Dinos. So we'll draw some cards, but if we take these off the board, and then this opens us up. If we draw like Embercleave, we can drop a whole bunch of damage in. Once Upon a Time of Note does not get Embercleave. They're going to outgrind us this game. Of note, this gets haste. Makes it a bit tougher. And they have Ghalta, which is coming down with haste. Ghalta with haste is tough. So usually in these mid-range mirrors, it comes down to who can scale larger. So we're going to add these in. Coming out, Pelt Collector, probably, or actually Zhur-Taa is pretty weak, I think. Pelt Collector's at least a play on 1. Burning Tree's decent. The Questing Beast can trade up. Embercleave's probably the way we win it. On the draw, I'll cut down one, or on the play, one of the Once Upon a Times. I like the ambush, like Spellbreaker, couple cuts. We want the Vivien. Actually, I don't think we want the Viviens. They're a bit too slow. Shape down 1 Pelt Collector. Play it like that. Wonder, are they just playing the blue for Oko? Usually these play black for Rotting Regisaur. Them drawing triple Ripjaw versus our creature-based combat deck. The fact it's a 4/5 scales well against us. Play first. Keep this hand. Here, gonna put away the mountain. Gonna do this now in case we get an elf. Just get Spellbreaker. Play that tapped. So this hand's been quite slow. So we don't get any utility out of this. You usually want a follow-up play, but I just want to start pressuring them. They go Goose. I don't know if they realize that's... Okay, so Embercleave's nice. We need another red source. Here I'm just going to haste in. I might have done that just to preserve the ramp. They don't have a red source, so they might have just wanted... Yeah, Regisaur on turn 3 is really strong. So interesting here, if they attack in, we'll take the block here. Do want to land, and we lost. They can Galta next turn. Us missing the line drop there is pretty weak. It's unfortunate. Those hands didn't really play out the way we wanted. Might have been like... It looks a little bit like an early concede there, but realistically they're untapping with a land. They have 5 mana, plus any other dinos get haste, plus the Galta gets reduced. So they kind of have that going for them. With our board state, we weren't really going to catch up. We needed to be proactive there, drop Questing Beast that turn to at least hold up a Death Touch blocker. Okay, so sounds pretty sweet. So especially if we draw like another 2-drop, we need something else to chain with this Burning Tree. Like a Domri's Ambush should be good against creature deck. Not more land. Usually a fan of not more land. We're only playing 22 lands. So it's a little unusual to have this many. Turn 2 Oko. That's actually not bad. So here, I'm going to take them off the mana. I think it's a little bit more impactful. It'll be interesting to see here. They'll probably just animate the food, throw the Burning Tree at it. Because Phoenix gets a lot worse in the face of this. Play Domri. It's actually kind of annoying. Because Domri, they animate the food, they fight this Burning Tree. Oh, they go for the exchange. That's very annoying. And the haste won't make much difference there. So we're putting the counter on it so they don't get the elk value. Oko is still annoying in this format. 5 mana Sarkin, Goose. We've also drawn an absurd amount of land. They double block there. Let's take out the Emissary. This just becomes elked. Whatever. We gotta play it out. Questing Beast to be nice. Could take out Oko. They up the mana here. They got their own Questing Beast. This likely comes into an L or yeah, they elk that. So let's see if they block here. So I'm going to take it out. It's not the most efficient, but turn 2 Oko, you're basically just fighting behind. We got a lot of haste, but at this point, they're just going to keep animating these. Yeah, we lost. So this matchup, Carnage Tyrant's good, Lava Coil's good, Vivien's good. Veil's interesting. It stops Oko, but I think it's too narrow. Rekindling Phoenixes are bad. I think everything else is okay. Pelt Collector scales up. Zhur-Taa is decent. Usually cut a couple questing beasts. They're really not that good in this particular matchup because they just get Oko'd. Might cut one once, put a second questing beast. Embercleave's risky because like Oko can just transform it, but it's the way we kind of steal a game if we can. This hand's very slow. Okay, we'll keep this hand. Kind of like a burning tree. So put the land away just because we want to answer their play on one. I do think it's good to prioritize taking them off mana. And then here it's better to kind of evolve it. So they could Oko, animate. So we need to decide here. It's a bit riskier for us to do this and go get, like if we miss on a green source, we're screwed. I think we just play it safe. Take that out. So the play on one was reasonable then because they would have turned 2 Oko'd. Deal 4 to it. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Here. I think we have to just haste into this. It's very fringe, but it did some damage to us there. The fact they were able to deploy a threat. Here we're going to have to trade one of these off to be able to kill Oko. And actually we can't because they're going to fight. So we got to try to once to find another haster. Yeah, we're going to get drilled down with value. A lot of high loyalty 3-mana planeswalkers. And this deck just gets a lot more consistent mana. You have 8 1-drop sources. This isn't doing anything. Yeah, we lost this one. Ah, that's frustrating. Haven't had any of these explosive draws that we had. Like, I got up quite a bit last night playing the deck. It's been pretty quick, but we'll run it for one more. This felt a little disjointed.